We know her as the flower-faced goddess, but can you tell us a little bit more about her and what she means to you?
She's near and dear to my heart in many ways. She was the first Welsh goddess that I started working with, and she was also the focus of my my master's thesis. I was talking about sovereignty, seasonal sovereignty goddesses, and specifically dealing with focusing on her and the fourth branch. And she is this dual-aspected goddess. She's first named Blodeuwedd, which means flowers. She was made from flowers, 3 flowers, oak, broom, and meadowsweet, to be the wife of Lle, because his mother Rhiannon forbade him from marrying a woman of the face of the earth. So his uncles got together. They were magicians, and they created her. So she was created out of these beautiful flowers. She was beautiful. She was, they got married immediately upon her being created, and she fell into this role of a beautiful wife. She was everything a woman should be. She was silent. She was beautiful. She was compliant. But then she fell in love, and she found her agency in that love. And she used those characteristics, very beautiful, very, very naive, perhaps, to get out of her husband, how she could be rid of him. And so he trusted her and gave her, what needed. And it was very difficult for him to kill, very liminal. Anyway, so she sets up a situation where all of those qualities would be met. He is killed by her lover. He turns into an eagle, and they run off together. All of these things happen. She is punished at the end. And what's interesting is that she's not punished for the, attempted murder of her husband, but because she had shamed him, right? Which was kind of interesting. And her punishment is to be turned into an owl, and then her name's changed to Blodeuwedd, right? Flower aspect. And it's not said exactly what kind of owl she is, but that it is a word used in Welsh for owl. And a lot of people do see it as the barn owl, is that kind of heart-shaped flowered face. And what she means to me is so much in that, you can look at her and say, why would you work with a goddess who tried to kill her husband? But you have to understand, again, the cultural context of it.
Probably some people can relate to that.
Yes, certainly. But I think her bigger picture is that, we are both flowers and owls, right? We have the ability to, because I see her as a seasonal sovereignty goddess, when she is in relationship with Lle, who is a god of light. I call him a solar hero, not a sun god, but he has those aspects. It is an archetype in a motif. When you're studying mythos, there are a lot of motifs that you can pick apart that kind of give you a sense of what other stories could be related to the story. One of those things that I learned through my degree program. But she's the flower face that follows the sun, right? During the day or during the summer, and then in the winter or at night, she's wed to so the man she falls in love with is a hunter. He kills a stag. There's all kinds of symbolism in it. But then she becomes the owl. She too is a hunter. She's an owl at the night, and she's the keen-eyed hunter. Like, owls are like precise, and they know what they want, and they can see through the darkness, and they grab hold of it, and they don't let go. So I think there is something to be said about following the track of light, and then also knowing how to pierce the darkness and seek what we want within that, and allow that to, elevate us, and, so we can seek our sovereignty in that darkness, to see through illusion. And, even without all of those pieces that, some of them I gained over time in relationships, some of them, through the academic study, but just reading her story, she was made for a purpose. She was made in the image of a perfect woman as far as the patriarchy was concerned. But then she threw off those shackles. She said, this is what you want from me. These are your expectations, but I want to follow my own path. And she did what she had to in order to do that. She risked everything. And even though she risked it for the love of another man, we can look at it as a bigger picture. What are the expectations that society has for us, that our family has had for us, that we've accepted, that our life needs to look like? And how can we be like that owl? How can we find what is truly trying to grow within us in the darkness? How can we grasp hold of that, risk that? And even though in the end she's alone, she is whole, she is herself, she is who she is meant to be. So I think she teaches us a lot about throwing off those shackles and daring to fly free. So that's how I see her.
We do know her as the flower-faced goddess. Were there specific flowers mentioned in the story? Because whenever I've heard about her, it's just been the flower-faced goddess. Were there actual specific flowers?
There were. In the fourth branch, she's made from 3, from oak, broom, and meadowsweet. And what's interesting about that, and here's the thing where cultural context is important, right? So I think the medieval Welsh audience would have recognized what those flowers meant. They were very specifically mentioned. And what's interesting is that none of those flowers bloom at the same time. So there is this temporal component. They waited for these flowers to come into bloom to collect them. And, I talk about her as a seasonal sovereignty goddess. So I think that these flowers probably are part of the land where they wound up ruling after the fact. Some scholars from the early 20th century, Griffith is one of them. He believed that the flowers were chosen because they represented her beauty, like the whiteness of her face and the blondness of her hair, and the she was tall like an oak, and the broom is yellow like her hair, and the meadowsweet. But there was more to it than that. I love the fact that there is this idea that the wisdom of the oak and the meadowsweet is an herb that is in brides' bouquets, so it has a fertility aspect. But we've also found it in Bronze Age tombs in places in Wales. So it was also a funerary herb. So there's that dual aspect of her there. And then the broom was the plantagenet, and I've said that wrong. It was their device, and it's part of those the hedges, and they hold on. They support a lot of those hedge systems and prevent erosion. So it's interesting what these flowers do, and some of them have magical qualities as well. So those are three in the fourth branch. But in the Book of Taliesin, there is a story, the Battle of the Trees, and she is mentioned in there, not by name, but they describe her being created, and it adds a couple more herbs. So and it says that she has ninefold faculties, and it adds two more, and then Robert Graves has his own translation of the Battle of the Trees, and then he adds how many? There's 9 now with the ones that he's added to it, and he doesn't give why he mentioned that. I tried to track those down, but I do kind of in the book go through what all of those flowers might have meant. The nettle and the chestnut and the bean and the hawthorn. So there's I haven't named them all, but yeah. So yeah, there's that language of flowers. I mean, these are all significant.